that's the cool thing about science, right? Is science is the same in the United States as science is the same in the Philippines as is in Dubai. Is science doesn't change. It is our interpretation and our approach to science that changes. So we have to, as a community, connect over that kind of stuff. So talk about a few different challenges and considerations, and this is where I'll kind of leave you off. First one is, I hope no one is epileptic with flashing lights, I apologize, is privacy concerns, right? Is more and more we're giving up all of our information, right? I just joined TikTok last week. Yeah, so I'm a little late to the game, but I'm on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But when I sign up for TikTok, I am giving a lot of my own personal digital data to the company, right? In terms of understanding everything about Zack. What does Zack like, right? How can I best provide certain ads that are more likely to cause Zack to buy this pair of pants or this pair of shoes or whatever it is, right? We're getting more and more into understanding you through your interests, right? And so you're giving up that data. Same thing within forensic science, right? Is we talked about giving up your DNA data to companies, right? Well, or your fingerprints to Panama as you're going through their immigration, right? Is what is happening and what is being used with that data, with those fingerprints? Is it possible that somebody could use that fingerprint and create a 3D model of that particular fingerprint and then use it at a scene? Sure. There's actually a great Batman scene where Catwoman, she collects a fingerprint from Bruce Wayne, and using that tape, she opens his safe. So that's the kind of privacy concerns that I have, and why I've never done one of those DNA submission things. I let my brother do it. I'll let my brother tell me that we're part Norwegian or whatever. German, actually, come to find out. German and Polish. Last name, shocker. So there's your privacy concerns. Didn't need DNA to tell you where I was from. Bias, right? And so this is one of my biggest concerns, because I'm so incredibly cognitive of forensic bias within examiners. Is my inherent bias. An AI model is exactly that, what you train it to be. So if you are biased, you are going to train your AI model to be biased, not intentionally. It is an inherent bias. So we have to be incredibly conscious of how we train our AI models, especially within forensic science, because we're playing for keeps, right? Is I'm possibly taking away somebody's freedom and putting them in prison or putting them to death. There is not a greater weight. That's terrifying, right? Is I have a colleague who was involved in 2 different cases that were exoneration cases, where somebody who was innocent was put in prison for more than a decade. And thankfully, my colleague was able to come back and say, no, this was bad examiner. This was somebody who didn't know what they were doing, interpreting the data wrong. The weight is serious, and we have to be so incredibly conscious of how we're incorporating technology. Accessibility to resources. So to kind of stem off that, if I give a police department $1 million, actually I'll just take Roswell. Roswell's such a great example. First off, as a Roswell police officer, and y'all are my community, thank y'all so much for supporting us the way that you do. It truly shows through the resources that we have at our police department. You can pretty much not go anywhere in this city, and we're not going to know it through the cameras that are all throughout the city. We have a really great program that kind of unveiled called Fusus. It's where we connect every camera in the city that partners with us. So DOT cameras, Roswell cameras that we put out on the streets, private businesses that sign up with the partnership, and they allow us access to their video footage. Our clearance rate of being able to solve crime has gone up so much because we now have access to all of those cameras. Traditionally, we didn't have access to the DOT cameras. So back when I worked traffic investigations, I would have a wreck in an intersection, but I wouldn't be able to look at those cameras because they were live streaming only. Well, now we're recording them for at least 7 days. So that kind of information is awesome, especially when we integrate it with license plate readers. We have many, many license plate readers in the city of Roswell. So you literally cannot come into the city of Roswell in a vehicle and not hit on one of those license plate readers. You have to pass one of them to come in and out of our city. That's how we catch bad guys, right? That's how we catch murder suspects that come from DeKalb, or armed robbery suspects, that come from Clayton County. They have to pass one of our LPRs. Not every agency has that. I'll get right to you. Not every agency has that, though, because not every agency has that kind of resources. That's very expensive. It takes a lot of money to be able to fund a program like that. So what happens to the crime and solvability rate in those particular agencies? You can't do it, exactly. So you start to see this kind of growth and divide between agencies that can afford technology and agencies that can't afford technology. But what about the agencies that can't? And what does crime look like in those particular agencies? As we get more and more into technology becoming a mainstay in law enforcement, I think we'll see that divide a little bit more. And we'll have to figure out as a community how we address that. You're combating against human behavior. And that's the big thing, right? Have I seen in my career more criminals utilize gloves, right, for doing property thefts, breaking into cars? Yeah, absolutely. Because CSI made it like, oh, I better wear gloves, otherwise they're going to get my fingerprints. Dang, got me again. I just have to figure out a different way. That's where I get trace DNA off of the window, right, from them breathing on the window. So there's always, we come back to Lecard. We come back to that 19th century, more than 150 years ago, Edmund Lecard saying, there's always that exchange of materials. You just got to figure out how to kind of get to it and process it. I'm coming right to you. You had a question. So many questions. I know, right? Well, my initial question. Excellent question, and that's one I can answer. Yes, in multiple ways, right? So apart from being able to map crime scenes and traffic accident scenes. So yesterday was my last day as a SWAT team leader. I spent the past 10 years on North Fulton SWAT, had a great time, started off as a negotiator, ended my career on SWAT as a team leader over our technical reconnaissance program. And our technical reconnaissance program was leveraging technical assets such as drones within SWAT operations. So being able to utilize drones both through the regular visible spectrum as well as that FLIR spectrum to image our environment, whether that is outside and being able to put a drone up on station to a very hostile event, or be able to put drones interior and start being able to put technology in places that are incredibly harmful to officers, right? So absolutely, that's another way that we can utilize drones. Another cool way is actually as soon as you call 911, Brookhaven is currently piloting this program. As soon as you call 911, they launch a drone to your location. The drone will beat the officers there so they can get eyes on sight before the officer ever gets there. So it's increasing safety and intelligence. And that's the biggest thing that we utilize technical assets for, is gaining that intelligence. Too much of y'all's time. So that's kind of where I see technology driving us in forensic science. The sensitivity of testing will only become even more, right? There will be a point where I'll be able to walk in with a sensor built into my phone and sample the air and collect your DNA and have a profile of your DNA on my phone within 60 seconds because of quantum computing. And that's pretty cool. That's ultimately what we're driving for, is a safer community through technology. So, any questions?